The silver ship moved slowly toward Earth's orbital station. Inside the ship, Commander Zethka checked his notes one more time. His blue skin was pale with nervousness. This was his first time meeting humans, and he wanted everything to go perfectly. Tatuan. Galactic Federation had been watching Earth for 50 years. They listened to human radio signals and television shows. They watched human movies and read human books that were sent into space. From all this information, the Federation believed they understood humans very well. Humans seemed like a peaceful species. They made beautiful art and music. They wrote stories about love and friendship. They took care of sick animals and tried to save their planet's environment. The Federation thought humans would make excellent new members. Zethka's assistant, a small green alien named Pixtel, floated beside him. "Commander, the human station is responding to our signals. They are ready to meet us." "Good," Zethka said. "Remember, humans are very emotional. They cry when they are sad and laugh when they are happy. Do not be surprised if they act strangely." The Federation ship docked with the human station. Zethka walked through the airlock, his forearms carrying gifts from different Federation worlds. Behind him came 5 other aliens, all scientists and diplomats. The first human he saw was a woman with brown hair tied back in a simple style. She wore a white coat over dark blue clothes. She smiled warmly and stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. Station Alpha," she said. "I am Dr. Lisa Morgan, Earth's head of alien studies. We are very happy to meet you." Zethka bowed in the Federation style. "I am Commander Zethka. Thank you for allowing us to visit." Behind Dr. Morgan stood a tall man in a dark uniform. His hair was short and gray at the sides. He had kind eyes, but something about the way he stood made Zethka think of a guard animal. "This is Captain Jake Sullivan," Dr. Morgan said. "He runs the security for our station." Captain Sullivan stepped forward and held out his hand. Zethka had read about this human custom. He reached out with one of his forehands and shook the human's hand carefully. "Welcome aboard, Commander," Captain Sullivan said. "We hope your stay here will be comfortable." The next few hours went exactly as Zethka expected. The humans showed them around the station. Dr. Morgan talked about human science and art. She showed them paintings that human children had made for the alien visitors. She played music that made the aliens feel peaceful and happy. Captain Sullivan showed them the station's gardens where humans grew food in space. He explained how humans work together to build things and solve problems. Everything seemed normal and peaceful, but Zethka began to notice small things that did not match what he expected. Dr. Morgan moved very quietly for someone who spent her time in laboratories. When they walked through the station corridors, she always knew where everyone else was, even when she was not looking at them. Captain Sullivan was polite and friendly, but his eyes never stopped moving. He watched everything around them. Zethka also noticed scars on the captain's hands and neck. These were not the hands of someone who only worked at a desk. During lunch, Dr. Morgan told stories about her work studying butterflies and birds. She spoke with great love about these small creatures. But when a food tray fell and made a loud crash, she moved faster than Zethka thought possible. Her hand went to her belt where Zethka realized she carried some kind of tool or weapon. "Sorry," she laughed, seeing Zethka's surprised expression. "Old habits. Loud noises make me jumpy." That afternoon, the aliens were touring the station's science labs when everything changed. A loud alarm began ringing through the corridors. Red lights flashed on the walls. "Hull breach in Section 7, a voice said over the station's communication system. "All personnel evacuate Sections 6 through 9 immediately." Zethka and his team looked around in confusion. They had practiced emergency procedures on their own ships, but this was not their station. They did not know what to do. The humans transformed instantly. Dr. Morgan, who moments before had been showing them her research on flower genetics, was now moving with purpose and speed that scared Zethka. She grabbed emergency equipment from wall lockers that Zethka had not even noticed. "Pixtel, stay with the other visitors," she called to Zethka's assistant. "Commander, if you want to help, follow me. Otherwise, go to the safe area." Captain Sullivan was already talking rapidly into his communication device, giving orders that Zethka could barely follow. Words like "seal the blast doors" and "emergency teams to stations" filled the air. "What happened?" Zethka asked. "Meteor hit us," Captain Sullivan said without stopping his work. "Small one, but it made a hole. We have people trapped in Section 7. Zethka watched in amazement as humans throughout the station moved like they were parts of the same machine. Everyone knew exactly what to do. Dr. Morgan was suddenly wearing a spacesuit and carrying tools that looked very dangerous. "Captain," Sullivan was coordinating 3 different emergency teams at once. "I thought humans were peaceful," Zethka whispered to Pixtel. "They are being peaceful," Pixtel replied, watching a human engineer cut through a twisted metal door with a laser tool. "They are saving lives." But this was not the kind of peaceful behavior Zethka had expected. These humans moved like soldiers. They worked together like a military unit. Dr. Morgan, the gentle scientist who loved butterflies, was now crawling through damaged corridors to reach trapped people. The rescue took 2 hours. Zethka watched humans do things that seemed impossible. They lifted heavy debris that should have required machines. They squeezed through spaces that seemed too small. They worked in the dangerous, damaged parts of the station without fear. 3. Alien crew members who had been visiting other parts of the station were trapped when the meteor hit. The humans found them and brought them back safely. One alien was hurt, and the humans immediately began treating his injuries with skill that impressed even Federation medical officers. When the emergency was over, the humans returned to their normal activities as if nothing had happened. Dr. Morgan took off her spacesuit, washed her hands, and began talking about flowers again. Captain Sullivan filed his reports and then asked if the alien visitors would like to continue their tour. "How do you do that?" Zethka asked Dr. Morgan. "Do what?" she replied, arranging some papers on her desk. "Change so quickly. One moment you are talking about butterflies. The next moment you are saving lives in a spacesuit." Dr. Morgan looked confused. "I do not understand the question. When people are in danger, you help them. When they are safe, you go back to your work. This is normal." But it was not normal to Zethka. In the Federation, there were soldiers, and there were civilians. Scientists studied things, warriors fought battles, engineers built machines. Each person had one job and stayed in that job. These humans seemed to be all of these things at once. Dr. Morgan was a scientist, but she was also some kind of emergency worker. Captain Sullivan was a leader, but he also knew how to fix machines and treat injuries. That night, Zethka sat in his guest quarters and tried to write his report for the Federation Council. How could he explain what he had seen? How could he tell them that humans were peaceful but also dangerous, that they were gentle but also fierce? He looked out the window at Earth spinning slowly below the station. Somewhere on that planet were billions more humans. If they were all like Dr. Morgan and Captain Sullivan, then the Federation might need to change everything they thought they knew about this species. Zethka decided he needed to visit Earth itself. He needed to see more humans in their normal environment. He needed to understand what kind of creatures could switch so easily between caring for butterflies and crawling through wreckage to save lives. The Federation thought they were meeting a species of peaceful farmers and artists. But Zethka was beginning to suspect they had found something much more complicated and much more interesting. 3 days after the station emergency, Commander Zethka made his request to Captain Sullivan and Dr. Morgan. He wanted to visit Earth itself to better understand human culture for his report to the Federation Council. "Of course," Dr. Morgan said with a smile, "we would be happy to show you our world. Where would you like to go?" Zethka had studied Earth's geography carefully. He wanted to see normal humans in their everyday lives, not the trained space station workers. "I would like to visit a small farming community, somewhere quiet and peaceful." Captain Sullivan nodded. "I know just the place. There is a town called Millbrook in the farming region. The people there are very friendly. They grow wheat and corn, and raise cattle. It is exactly what you are looking for." 2 days later, Zethka found himself standing in the main street of Millbrook. The town was small with only a few hundred people. There was a school, a store, a church, and many farms spread across the rolling hills. Everything looked exactly like the peaceful farming communities he had seen in human movies. A tall man with sun-darkened skin walked toward them. He wore simple work clothes and had dirt under his fingernails from farm work. Behind him came a woman with kind eyes and a teenage girl with long brown hair. "Welcome to Millbrook," the man said, holding out his hand. "I am Ben Carter. This is my wife Amy and our daughter Katie. We are very excited to have you stay with us." Zethka shook Ben's hand carefully. The farmer's grip was strong but gentle. "Thank you for letting me visit your home. I hope I will not be too much trouble." "No trouble at all," Amy Carter said. "We have prepared a room for you. Katie helped me learn about your dietary needs from the information Dr. Morgan sent us." The Stow Carter family seemed perfect examples of peaceful human farmers. Ben worked in his fields every day, growing crops that would feed people in the cities. Amy taught young children at the local school. Katie helped with farm work and studied hard for her school tests. For the first week, everything went exactly as Zethka expected. He watched Ben drive his tractor through the fields, planting seeds and checking on his crops. He observed Amy teaching children to read and helping them with their mathematics. He saw Katie feeding the farm animals and doing her homework at the kitchen table each evening. The humans in Millbrook were friendly and curious about their alien visitor. They asked him about his home world and his ship. They showed him their photo albums and told him stories about their families. They invited him to community dinners where everyone brought food to share. Zethka began to relax. These were clearly the peaceful, simple farmers that the Federation expected to find on Earth. Ben Carter talked about the weather and crop prices. Amy Carter discussed her students' progress in school. Katie asked questions about alien technology for a school project. Everything was normal and calm until the morning of the 8th day. Zethka woke to the sound of Ben Carter talking urgently on his communication device in the kitchen below. The farmer's voice was different from usual, sharper and more focused. "How many dogs?" Ben was asking someone. "Where were they last seen? Has anyone been hurt?" Zethka came downstairs to find the entire Carter family moving with purpose around their kitchen. Amy was packing medical supplies into a bag. Katie was checking something on the computer that looked like a map of the local area. "What is happening?" Zethka asked. "Pack of feral dogs," Ben explained without stopping his preparations. "About 12 of them. They have rabies, which makes them very dangerous. They attacked the Johnson farm early this morning and killed some livestock. Now they are heading toward the school." Amy looked up from her medical bag. "The children are already at school. We need to make sure they stay safe." Zethka felt confused. This seemed like a job for animal control officers or police. "Should we not call the authorities?" "We are the authorities," Katie said, checking something that looked like a small radio. "In a town this small, we all have to help when there is danger." Ben opened a locked cabinet that Zethka had not paid attention to before. Inside were several weapons, rifles, handguns, and other tools that Zethka did not recognize. The peaceful farmer began checking each weapon with the skill of someone who had used them many times. "Ben, Amy, and I all have training," Katie explained, seeing Zethka's shocked expression. "Everyone in town does. We help each other when there are emergencies." Amy was now wearing different clothes, practical pants and a jacket instead of her teaching dress. She had a first aid kit, a radio, and other equipment that made her look more like a soldier than a school teacher. "The dogs will reach the school in about 30 minutes, Ben said, studying a map. "Amy, you take the truck and get to the school. Keep the children inside and safe. Katie, you coordinate with the other families. I will go with the group to track the dogs." Zethka watched in amazement as the gentle farming family transformed into an organized emergency response team. Ben, who had been talking about corn prices the night before, was now planning a tactical operation. Amy, who taught children to read, was preparing to defend those same children from dangerous animals. The transformation happened throughout the entire town. Zethka saw farmers, shop owners, and other ordinary people organizing into groups. Some went to secure the school and other important buildings. Others formed hunting parties to track down the rabid dogs. "This is not possible," Zethka whispered to himself. "These are peaceful farmers." But what he saw next made him question everything the Federation thought they knew about humans. The people of Millbrook did not just react to the emergency. They handled it with precision that would have impressed military specialists. Ben Carter led a group of 6 men and women into the hills where the dogs had been spotted. They moved through the forest like trained soldiers, communicating with hand signals and coordinating their positions. When they found the pack of rabid dogs, they eliminated the threat quickly and efficiently. At the same time, Amy Carter had turned the school into a secure shelter. She organized the children into safe areas, prepared medical supplies for any injuries, and coordinated with the other groups through her radio. She did all of this while keeping the children calm and unafraid. Katie Carter, who was only 17 years old, managed communications for the entire operation. She tracked the location of every person involved, monitored weather conditions that might affect the hunt, and maintained contact with emergency services in the nearest city. The entire crisis was resolved in less than 4 hours. The rabid dogs were found and eliminated before they could hurt anyone. No people were injured. The children were kept safe and were soon back to their normal school activities. By afternoon, Ben Carter was back in his fields, checking on his crops. Amy Carter was teaching her students about mathematics. Katie Carter was doing her homework and helping prepare dinner. It was as if the emergency had never happened. But Zethka had seen the truth. These peaceful farmers were also trained emergency responders. These gentle teachers were also tactical coordinators. These helpful teenagers were also capable operators. That evening, Zethka sat on the Carter family's front porch with Ben, watching the sunset over the fields. "How do you do this?" Zethka asked. "How do you change so quickly from farmer to warrior and back to farmer?" Ben looked surprised by the question. "We do not change, we are always both. I am a farmer because I grow food to feed people. I am a protector because I defend my community from danger. These are not different things, they are the same thing. But in the Federation we have specialists. Soldiers fight, farmers grow food, teachers educate children. Each person has one job." "That sounds inefficient," Ben said thoughtfully. "What happens when your soldiers are not around but your farmers need protection? What happens when your teachers' students are in danger?" Zethka had no answer for this. In Federation society, people called for help and waited for specialists to arrive. But in Millbrook, help was already there because everyone was capable of providing it. "Every human can do many jobs," Ben continued. "We learn to grow things and build things and fix things. We also learn to protect things. When you love something, you learn how to take care of it in every way it needs." That night, Zethka tried to write his report for the Federation Council, but the words would not come. How could he explain that human farmers were also warriors? That human teachers were also tacticians? That human children learned both mathematics and emergency response? The Federation had categories for every species they had encountered. But humans seemed to exist in all categories at once. They were peaceful, but they were also dangerous. They were gentle, but they were also fierce. They were civilians, but they were also soldiers. Zethka realized that he needed to see more. He needed to understand if all humans were like the people of Millbrook, or if this small farming town was unusual. He needed to know if humanity's dual nature was something unique to Earth, or if it was simply how intelligent species survived on dangerous worlds. One thing was certain: the Federation had never encountered anything like humanity before, and Zethka was beginning to suspect that this fact would change everything about how the galaxy understood the nature of intelligent life. Commander Zethka could not sleep that night. He kept thinking about what he had seen in Millbrook, the peaceful farmers who became warriors in minutes, the teacher who turned into a tactical coordinator, the teenager who managed communications like a trained specialist. He made a decision that he knew was against Federation protocols. He activated his secret communication device and sent a coded message to the Federation Council. The message was simple but urgent. "Request immediate covert investigation team. Humans may not be what we expected." 3 days later, Zethka received a reply. A small reconnaissance unit would arrive within the week, disguised as a scientific expedition studying Earth's ecosystems. They would be led by War Commander Thexville, one of the Federation's best military strategists. When War Commander Thexville arrived, he looked nothing like a scientist. He was tall and covered in thick armor-like skin. His species, the Krextari, were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors, but even Thexville tried to look peaceful as he met with Dr. Morgan and Captain Sullivan. "We are very interested in studying your planet's animal life," Thexville said in his deep, rumbling voice. "We have heard that Earth has many unique creatures." "Doctor," Morgan smiled warmly, "we would be happy to help with your research. Earth does have incredible biodiversity. Where would you like to start?" "We would like to visit different environments," said Thexville's assistant, a quick-moving alien named Silka. "Cities, forests, mountains, deserts. We want to understand how Earth's creatures adapt to different conditions." What they really wanted was to study humans in different environments. Zethka had told them about Millbrook, but they needed to see if all humans shared this strange dual nature. Their first stop was the city of Denver. The team was accompanied by Dr. Helen Brooks, a human anthropologist who specialized in studying different cultures. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, exactly what the aliens expected from a peaceful academic. In Denver, they observed the daily life of police officer Maria Rodriguez. She started her morning at an elementary school, teaching children about safety and stranger awareness. She knelt down to the children's level, speaking gently and making them laugh with funny stories. "See how peaceful she is," Silka whispered to Thexville. "She cares for the young ones." But that afternoon everything changed. A call came over Maria's radio about an armed robbery in progress. The gentle woman who had been reading stories to children suddenly became something else entirely. Maria's entire body language shifted. She moved with speed and precision that made Thexville's warrior instincts take notice. She coordinated with other officers using tactical language that impressed even the war commander. When she cornered the armed criminals in an alley, she handled the situation with skills that would have been admired in any military unit. "She is a warrior," Thexville said in amazement. "No," Dr. Brooks corrected him. "She is a protector. There is a difference." After the arrest, Maria returned to the school to finish her safety presentation to the children. She switched back to her gentle, caring manner as if nothing had happened. The children never knew that their teacher had just apprehended dangerous criminals. The next day, the investigation team traveled to Alaska to observe wilderness guide Tom Mitchell. Tom was leading a group of tourists through the forest, pointing out different plants and animals. He spoke softly so as not to disturb the wildlife, and he helped elderly tourists navigate difficult trails. Dr. Brooks walked with the group, asking Tom questions about local ecology for the aliens' supposed research. Everything seemed perfectly normal until Tom suddenly stopped walking and held up his hand for silence. "What is wrong?" Zethka asked quietly. Tom's expression had changed completely. His eyes were scanning the forest with an intensity that made Thexville think of a hunter tracking dangerous prey. "We have a problem," Tom said in a voice that was calm but serious. "There is someone in these woods who should not be here." Unknown to the tour group, an escaped convict had fled into the wilderness after breaking out of a nearby prison. Tom had noticed broken branches and disturbed ground that told him someone had passed through recently, someone who was not following normal hiking trails. While continuing to guide the tourists safely through their nature walk, Tom was simultaneously tracking the escaped prisoner. He used his radio to coordinate with law enforcement, providing detailed information about the fugitive's location and likely escape routes. The tourists never realized what was happening. To them, Tom remained their friendly guide, showing them beautiful views and interesting wildlife. But Thexville watched in fascination as the human simultaneously managed two completely different situations. When the police finally arrested the escaped convict 3 miles away, Tom simply smiled and continued pointing out bird nests to his tour group. He had helped capture a dangerous criminal while ensuring that a group of civilians enjoyed their vacation. "How does he do that?" Silka asked Dr. Brooks. "Humans are very good at doing multiple things at once. Dr. Brooks replied. We call it multitasking. Tom can guide tourists and track fugitives because both jobs require similar skills. Knowing the land, understanding animal behavior, and keeping people safe. But it was more than multitasking, and Thexville knew it. Tom Mitchell had demonstrated the same capabilities that made Thexville's own species excellent hunters. The ability to track prey across any terrain. The patience to follow a trail for hours or days. The persistence to never give up once the hunt began. That evening, Dr. Brooks gave the aliens a lecture about human evolution that disturbed Thexville greatly. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, she explained, showing them pictures of early human ancestors. Our species survived by working together to hunt animals much larger and stronger than ourselves. We would track them across vast distances, never letting them rest until they collapsed from exhaustion. She showed them evidence of how human ancestors had hunted massive creatures to extinction, woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths, cave bears, all eliminated by humans who refused to give up the chase. We are still persistence hunters, Dr. Brooks continued. We just hunt different things now. We hunt criminals, diseases, problems that need solving. The instinct is still there. Thexville felt a chill run through his armored body. His own species were ambush predators. They struck fast and hard, then either succeeded or retreated. But humans were something far more frightening. They were the kind of hunters who never stopped coming. The investigation team's final test came when they were exploring a mountain region during winter. A sudden blizzard struck and their vehicles became stuck in deep snow. The temperature dropped rapidly and visibility became almost zero. The aliens began to panic. This was not their environment, and they had no idea how to survive in such conditions. But the humans in the group immediately took charge of the survival operation. Dr. Brooks, the gentle academic, began organizing shelter construction with the efficiency of a military engineer. Carol Davis, a school teacher who had joined them for the trip, started rationing food and water supplies like an experienced quartermaster. Frank Williams, a retired librarian in his 70s, began coordinating rescue signals and navigation like a seasoned explorer. They are all warriors, Thexville whispered to Zethka as they watched the humans work. No, Zethka replied, finally understanding. They are all survivors. Every human learns to survive, and survival sometimes requires fighting. The humans kept the entire group alive through 3 days of dangerous weather. They built effective shelters, managed their supplies, and maintained morale until rescue teams could reach them, but they did it all while maintaining their essential human nature. Dr. Brooks continued her scientific observations. Carol Davis taught the alien children about Earth weather patterns, and Frank Williams told stories to keep everyone's spirits up. When they were finally rescued, the humans acted as if their survival skills were completely normal. Dr. Brooks returned to discussing plant biology. Carol Davis went back to talking about her students. Frank Williams resumed telling gentle, stories about his grandchildren. Thexville realized that he had been thinking about humans all wrong. He had been looking for evidence that they were either peaceful or dangerous. But the truth was more complex and more frightening than he had imagined. Every human was both. Every single one of them carried the genes and instincts of persistence, hunters who had eliminated megafauna across an entire planet. But they also carried the social bonds and cooperative instincts that had allowed them to work together in groups. They were not civilized warriors or militarized civilians. They were something new, a species where every individual was both protector and nurturer, both hunter and caregiver, both destroyer and creator. As Thexville prepared his report for the Federation Council, he realized that the galaxy had never encountered anything like humanity, and he was not sure the galaxy was ready for them. War Commander Thexville stood before the Federation Council with his report in hand. The great chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Some looked like giant insects, others resembled walking plants, and still others were made of crystalline structures that sparkled in the light. At the center of the chamber sat the 3 most important leaders of the Federation. Peaceful Arbiter Yemka was a tall, thin being who specialized in diplomatic solutions. Security Prime. Draktos was heavily armored and responsible for military matters. Council Speaker Nexara was ancient and wise, with the responsibility of making final decisions. War Commander Thexville, Council Speaker Nexara said, in a voice that sounded like wind through crystal caves. Please present your findings about the species called humans. Thexville activated his holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air above the council chamber. Pictures of cities, farms, forests, and mountains rotated slowly for all to see. Honored Council, Thexville began, I must report that humanity is unlike any species we have encountered in the galaxy. They do not fit into our established categories of peaceful traders, aggressive warriors, or specialized technicians. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the chamber. Every species the Federation had ever met could be classified easily. This was how they determined trade agreements, defensive, pacts, and membership requirements. Please explain, Peaceful Arbiter Yemka said with interest. Thexville showed images of the humans his team had observed. Dr. Morgan working with butterflies, then crawling through damaged space station corridors. Ben Carter farming peaceful fields, then coordinating tactical operations against rabid animals. Maria Rodriguez teaching children, then apprehending armed criminals. Every human individual possesses multiple capabilities simultaneously, Thexville continued. They are not specialists who focus on one area of expertise. They are generalists who can adapt to any situation that requires their attention. Security Prime Draktos leaned forward with obvious concern. His species, the Vorthok, were professional warriors who spent their entire lives training for combat. Are you saying that human civilians are also soldiers? I am saying something more disturbing than that, Thexville replied. Human soldiers are also civilians. Human farmers are also warriors. Human teachers are also tacticians. There is no separation between their peaceful and defensive capabilities. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from different worlds spoke in dozens of languages, trying to understand what this meant. Some species had warrior castes and civilian castes that never mixed. Others had completely peaceful societies with no military at all. A few had aggressive cultures focused entirely on conquest. But none had ever heard of a species where every individual embodied all aspects. At once, Council Speaker Nexara called for order. War Commander, do you believe humanity poses a threat to galactic peace? Thexville hesitated. This was the question that had kept him awake during his entire journey back to Federation space. I do not know, he admitted. They are certainly capable of great violence. But they seem to use that capability only for protection, not conquest. Protection can become aggression very quickly, Security Prime Draktos pointed out. What happens when humans decide that the best way to protect their interests is to eliminate potential threats? What happens when they decide that we are threats? Peaceful Arbiter Yemka disagreed. What I hear in this report is evidence that humans would make excellent Federation members. They can be both diplomats and defenders. They can negotiate peace and enforce it when necessary. This dual nature could be exactly what the galaxy needs. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that humanity's adaptive nature made them too unpredictable for galactic society. Others insisted that their protective instincts made them ideal peacekeepers for dangerous regions of space. Finally, Council Speaker Nexara announced that the humans themselves would be invited to present their case for Federation membership. Dr. Morgan and Captain Sullivan would come to the Federation's capital world to speak directly to the Council. 2 weeks later, Dr. Morgan and Captain Sullivan arrived at Federation headquarters. They were accompanied by a small delegation of other humans who represented different aspects of Earth society. There was Professor Alan White, an elderly historian, Dr. Sandra Kim, a young medical researcher, Engineer Rick Barnes, who designed spacecraft systems, and Sergeant Nancy Lopez, a military advisor. The human delegation was housed in the finest diplomatic quarters and given every courtesy. But Thexville noticed that Security Prime Draktos had quietly increased security around the capital. Hidden. Sensors monitored the humans constantly, and additional guards were stationed at strategic locations. The formal presentation took place in the Great Council Chamber. Dr. Morgan stood at the center, with her human colleagues arranged around her. She appeared calm and confident, but Thexville could see the same alertness in her posture that he had observed on the space station. Honored Council, Dr. Morgan began. We are grateful for the opportunity to address you today. Humanity seeks membership in the Galactic Federation because we believe we can contribute to the peace and prosperity of all civilized worlds. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's achievements, beautiful art and music, scientific discoveries that had improved life for millions, engineering projects that had transformed entire continents, medical advances that had eliminated diseases and extended human lifespan. We offer our knowledge, our creativity, and our dedication to the common good, Dr. Morgan continued. Peaceful Arbiter Yemka was clearly impressed. Your accomplishments are remarkable. Your species has achieved much in a relatively short time. But Security Prime Dractos was not convinced. Dr. Morgan, our investigation revealed that your species has a troubling capacity for violence. Can you explain why every human civilian appears to possess military-level capabilities? Dr. Morgan exchanged glances with Captain Sullivan. They had expected this question and had prepared their answer carefully. We do not separate our civilian and military populations because we believe that protection is everyone's responsibility, Captain Sullivan said, stepping forward. A human farmer can become a soldier when his community is threatened. A human soldier can become a teacher when peace is restored. We adapt to meet whatever challenges we face. But this adaptability makes you unpredictable, Security Prime Dractos pointed out. How can the Federation trust a species that can transform from peaceful traders to deadly warriors without warning? Dr. Morgan's expression became serious. You are asking the wrong question. You should not ask whether we can become dangerous. You should ask what makes us dangerous. She activated another display, this one showing images of human families, communities, and cultural sites. We become dangerous when something we love is threatened. We become fierce when someone tries to harm the innocent. We become relentless when defending our values and our way of life. Professor White stepped forward to add historical context. Throughout human history, we have fought wars against oppression, slavery, and genocide. We have sacrificed our lives to protect people we have never met. We fight not because we love violence, but because we love peace so much that we will kill to preserve it. Dr. Kim presented medical and psychological data about human aggression. Our capacity for violence serves our capacity for protection. We are not randomly aggressive, we are selectively protective. Engineer Barnes showed technical specifications for human weapons and defenses. We build tools of war so that we can preserve tools of peace. Our military technology exists to protect our civilian achievements. Sergeant Lopez concluded with military doctrine. Human soldiers are taught that their highest purpose is to make their own existence unnecessary. We fight so that others do, not have to. We are weapons pointed at those who would harm the innocent. The council chamber fell silent as the humans finished their presentation. They had been completely honest about their nature, hiding nothing about their capacity for both creation and destruction. Council Speaker Nexara spoke after a long pause. You present us with a dilemma. Previous species have been either predominantly peaceful or predominantly aggressive. This allowed us to predict their behavior and plan accordingly. But you claim to be both peaceful and aggressive depending on circumstances. That is correct, Dr. Morgan replied simply. How can the Federation trust such an unpredictable species? Security Prime Dractos demanded. How can you not? Captain Sullivan responded. We are telling you exactly when and why we become dangerous. We are giving you the complete truth about our nature. Is that not more trustworthy than a species that hides its true capabilities? Peaceful Arbiter Yemka was intrigued. You are suggesting that your transparency about your dual nature makes you more reliable, not less. Yes, Dr. Morgan said. We will never surprise you with hidden aggression, because we are openly protective. We will never betray an alliance because we value loyalty above personal gain. We will never abandon our friends because our instinct is to defend our pack. The debate that followed was intense. Some council members argued that humanity's honesty proved their trustworthiness. Others insisted that their dual nature made them too dangerous for galactic society. The test world was called Neutral Ground, a planet designed specifically for Federation diplomatic exercises. It had forests, rivers, and small settlements that could be configured for different scenarios. Security Prime Draktos had spent weeks designing the perfect challenge for humanity. Captain Sullivan stood with his team on the landing platform, studying the briefing materials. The humans had been told they would participate in a diplomatic simulation about resource allocation and cultural integration. They were supposed to work with refugee families from various alien species to establish a new colony. The human team was carefully chosen to represent Earth's civilian population. There was Sam Peterson, an engineer who designed water treatment systems; Kelly Adams, a nurse who worked in rural hospitals; Chris Wong, a teacher who specialized in conflict resolution; Linda Foster, a farmer who managed sustainable agriculture projects; and Captain Sullivan himself, representing Earth's military but instructed to act only as an advisor. Remember, Captain Sullivan told his team as they prepared to enter the simulation, "We are here to prove that humans can work peacefully with other species. The Federation is watching everything we do." What the humans did not know was that the refugees were actually Federation actors playing specific roles. Some were programmed to be cooperative and grateful. Others were designed to create conflict and test human responses. Hidden cameras and sensors would record every action and decision. The simulation began peacefully. The human team met with families of different alien species who had supposedly fled from various disasters across the galaxy. There were the gentle Veltari, who looked like large butterflies and needed special flowers for their diet; the practical Cordon, who resembled walking trees and required specific soil conditions; the emotional Zilfi, who appeared as floating jellyfish and needed careful temperature control. For the first few days, everything went exactly as the Federation expected from a peaceful species. Sam Peterson designed water systems that met the needs of all the different aliens. Kelly Adams established medical protocols that could treat various species safely. Chris Wong organized cultural exchange programs so the refugees could share their traditions with each other. Linda Foster proved especially helpful, working with alien agriculturalists to develop farming techniques that could feed everyone while respecting different dietary requirements. Captain Sullivan remained in the background, offering advice but letting the civilians take the lead. War Commander Thexville watched from the hidden observation center with other Federation officials. "So far, they are behaving exactly like peaceful diplomats," he reported to Security Prime Draktos. "Wait," Security Prime Draktos replied. "The real test has not begun yet." On the fourth day, the first signs of trouble appeared. Some of the alien refugees began arguing about resources. The Cordon actors complained that the Veltari were taking too much water for their flower gardens. The Zilfi actors accused the Cordon of taking the best land for themselves. The human response was immediate but measured. Chris Wong organized mediation sessions where each group could express their concerns. Sam Peterson redesigned the water distribution system to ensure everyone received adequate supplies. Linda Foster created shared gardens where different species could work together. "They are avoiding conflict through cooperation," Peaceful Arbiter Yemka observed approvingly. "This is exactly what we hope to see from Federation members." But Security Prime Draktos was not satisfied. He activated the next phase of the test. The alien actors were instructed to escalate their conflicts and become more aggressive. On the sixth day, fights broke out between different refugee groups. The actors, playing desperate survivors, began hoarding food and supplies. Some threatened violence against weaker groups who could not defend themselves. The human team found themselves in an impossible situation. If they used force to stop the conflicts, they would prove they were too aggressive for peaceful diplomacy. If they failed to protect the innocent refugees, they would prove they were too weak for the challenges of galactic society. Captain Sullivan called an emergency meeting with his team. "The situation is getting worse. Some of the refugees are threatening to hurt others. What do we do?" "We cannot let innocent people get hurt," Kelly Adams said firmly. "But we also cannot start a war in a refugee camp." "Maybe we can find another way," Chris Wong suggested. There has to be a solution that protects everyone without making things worse. What happened next surprised everyone watching from the observation center. The humans did not choose between peace and protection. Instead, they found a way to do both at the same time. Sam Peterson began working frantically to improve the colony's infrastructure, making sure that resource scarcity was not driving the conflicts. Kelly Adams organized medical teams that included members from all the refugee groups, giving them common goals to work toward. Chris Wong established security patrols made up of volunteers from different species, so that protection became a shared responsibility rather than an imposed solution. Linda Foster created community projects where different groups had to cooperate to succeed, building relationships that made violence less likely. Captain Sullivan coordinated all these efforts while maintaining communication with the most aggressive actors, making it clear that violence would not be tolerated, but offering alternatives to fighting. When some of the actors tried to attack a family of weak elderly aliens, the human response was swift and decisive. But it was not the response Security Prime Dractos expected. The humans did not simply eliminate the threat. They surrounded the aggressive actors with a combination of refugee volunteers and human team members. They offered the aggressors food, medical care, and better living conditions if they stopped threatening others. They made it clear that violence would be prevented, but they also addressed the reasons why the actors were becoming violent. "This is not possible," Security Prime Dractos muttered as he watched the crisis unfold. "They are using both diplomatic and military solutions at the same time." The most telling moment came when the actors playing the most desperate refugees made their final attempt to create chaos. They took several elderly aliens hostage and demanded that all other groups leave the colony, or the hostages would be hurt. The human team transformed immediately, but not in the way the Federation expected. They did not become pure warriors or pure diplomats. They became something else entirely. Captain Sullivan coordinated a rescue operation while Chris Wong maintained negotiations with the hostage-takers. Sam Peterson and Linda Foster organized the evacuation of non-essential personnel, while Kelly Adams prepared medical support for potential casualties. But throughout the entire crisis, they never stopped being who they were fundamentally. Captain Sullivan remained protective rather than aggressive. Chris Wong stayed focused on finding solutions rather than defeating enemies. Sam Peterson and Linda Foster continued working to improve conditions for everyone. Kelly Adams kept trying to heal rather than harm. The humans rescued the hostages without killing the hostage-takers. They neutralized the threat while addressing the underlying problems that had caused it. They restored order while maintaining their commitment to helping everyone in the colony. When the simulation ended, War Commander Thexville finally understood what made humans unique. "They are not predators who learned compassion," he said to the observation team. "They are not peaceful beings who can fight when necessary. They are protectors, a species that evolved to defend their community while preserving what they value." The HFY Federation Council reconvened to hear the results of the test. Security Prime Dractos presented his findings with obvious reluctance. "The humans did not choose between peace and protection," he reported. "They found ways to achieve both simultaneously. They prevented violence while addressing its causes. They defended the innocent while offering redemption to the guilty. They maintained order while preserving freedom." Peaceful Arbiter Yemka was delighted. "This proves that humanity would be an ideal addition to the Federation. They can serve as both diplomats and peacekeepers." Council Speaker Nexara made the final decision. "Humanity is accepted into the Galactic Federation. They will be classified as our first protector species, beings capable of both creating and defending peace." The Federation files were updated with a new entry: Species classification, human, civilian protector hybrid, capable of rapid adaptation between peaceful and defensive modes while maintaining core values. Recommended for peacekeeping, exploration, and first contact missions. Note: extremely protective of what they consider family. Threatening human allies is inadvisable. Dr. Morgan smiled as she read the official classification. "We are not the strongest species in the galaxy, or the smartest, or the most peaceful. But we might be the most dedicated to protecting what matters. In a universe full of wonders and dangers, Perhaps that is exactly what everyone needs. As Earth prepared to take its place in galactic society, one thing became clear to all Federation members. Humanity had not just joined their community, they had become its guardians, and the galaxy would never be the same.